Ukrainian forces withdraw from Soledar as Putin claims victory. So this is something that we talked about last week, and of course there was much controversy of whether they actually took this area or which they didn't. Of course, the mainstream narrative has been that Vlad has been losing, that they've got their tail between their legs and they're going the opposite direction. Well, apparently they did win this very strategic small town of Soledar, which is a mining town. It says Ukrainian forces have reportedly withdrawing from Soledar after Russia captured the city in their first major breakthrough in the conflict in 6 months. It says a team for CNN stationed around 4 kilometers from the salt mining town saw that they said that UAR forces were ferrying troops out in organized retreat. It says there was an ongoing rocket fire in Soledar after Russia claimed control of the town on Friday morning. It has been claimed. It says UKR denied that Russia had seized control of the town Soledar and said that UKR units were still there. Earlier, the Russian Defense Ministry claimed it was captured the town of Soledar. There was, of course, an argument whether they did or not because it was part of the Wagner versus regular military argument. We'll talk about this and much, much more. It doesn't look good for UKR. And then everything else that's going on, including mysterious booms, whales washing up around the coast, and again, very, very strange objects being seen. All sorts of stuff on tonight's show, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News Live. Tonight, we're going to be covering a ton of stories, and if you are new here, make sure to go over to the website, marfooglenews.com, to find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to share here. We make sure that you have a full bibliography. That way, you guys have access to it. You can see where we're getting this information and see where we are sourcing it from. A lot of the times, you will see breaking news from a YouTube channel, and I don't blame everybody for not doing this. Again, it takes a lot of work, but we do end up sharing every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we are showing you here today, including updating it live while the show is going. If if a caller calls in and brings in a video or a picture, that is all updated. Go to the website. You'll see it's very easy to navigate. Today's thumbnail is no fun. WW3, not a glitch. It's already started. We're going to talk about who says it has already begun. Probably the 10th or 11th person I've seen, official, that is basically saying that we are already in it. Again, many of you believe so as well, as far as WW3 already starting. But once you click on that, you'll find that everything is there, plus a whole lot more. There is stuff at the bottom, including all of the stuff that could not fit into a 2-hour time period. Right when you get to that yellow bar, you're going to see the web content. It also has some of the stuff that you don't talk about at the bar, the stuff that just causes literal nonstop arguments. There's a good reason why some of the stuff is not talked about. It literally breaks up people. It separates people. It's just it's a horrible thing. So be of course a gem and go down there and check that out. Tons and tons of great stuff. All right, and then make sure to go check out all of our friends. We have tons of channels that are friends and good people. They are all under either the mods or the Friends of Marf creators down here. Again, there are channels that actually go live right before us or right after us, so make sure to follow who those are so then you can hop over to their channel as well. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, okay, so first of all, it's to them withdrawing. This is something that obviously the mainstream. This is CNN. That's as like narrative as it gets. So if they are covering this and saying it, either it is absolutely to the point where they cannot deny it and cannot cover it up, which again, over the last week, they've been saying that they did not lose Soledar when the victory was claimed, I think like 4 or 5 days ago from Vlad's side. And now they're finally saying, yeah, we did. And now they're withdrawing. Or are they purposely saying this from CNN and all of these sources? What do you think about Soledar? And do you think that Vlad is losing as bad as they say he is?
Well, I think it's interesting though that he's now claiming it, and it kind of goes. It's interesting in the sense that the head of the Wagner Group was, like you said, was claiming it a few days earlier, and then they came out and sort of knocked him down and said, no, we haven't actually claimed it yet, and pushed him down a little bit in rank, so to speak, at least publicly, because they didn't want. We had reported that he was making a lot of headway in the public eye, in the political eye, and some were even saying, and we even reported an article that was written that said that he might be the replacement for Vlad. So there's obviously a little tiff there between the two. So now here we have whether or not it was done before, or it was just done today, but now Vlad is taking credit for it and saying, yes, it's actually done. So it was a strategic position for Vlad. It's going to be a defeat, obviously, for UKR if it's true. So, but that's just one of many that are going on. We'll have to see how the rest plays out.
And many cities are going to be taken and then taken back if this is a real conflict, and that's something that's going to happen. I am not pro Vlad. I'm not pro UKR. I'm not pro neither. But what I will say is there's a lot of propaganda out there, so we question absolutely everything as far as anything that's coming out covering this conflict. So just make sure you realize that. We're looking more at the big picture of everything else that is going on right now, and there's so many weird events, it's nuts. So there was, again, as far as weird events go, this is as weird as it gets. So earthquake ? Jersey Shore residents report loud sustained rumbling. A loud sustained rumbling shook residents and buildings along the Jersey Shore on Friday afternoon, leading some to speculate on social media that an earthquake could be to blame. But apparently the U.S. Geological Survey shows no signs of seismic activity in New Jersey or neighboring states at 2:30 p.m. or about 30 minutes after the tremors rattled windows and houses. It says that residents as far south as Cape May and up to Manahawkin along the coast as far west as Glassboro in Gloucester County reported feeling the shaking on social media. The tremor lasted at least 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is a long time to actually feel something and then not have anything reported. It said, I thought that my house was about to explode, posted one user to Facebook. Hundreds of people have reported the rumblings within the first hour at volcanodiscovery.com, which collects anecdotal information about potential earthquakes, and the reports included the residents in Delaware. It said that there are some thunderstorms well offshore, but nothing close enough to land where you would be able to hear any thunder, I would think. And then, of course, that was a meteorologist at the National Weather Service, Alex Starman. Starman said that those thunderstorms were about 200 miles away from the Jersey Shore. Based on the far distance that they said, thunder would be low on the list of possible causes for the loud booms and shakings reported. So there was by the way, nobody said that there was any rain or thunder nearby that did this. Their house actually shook for 10 seconds. If you are one of these people, make sure to let us know. Get a hold of us. But again, this happened, and at the same time, this is very, very odd. 7th dead whale washed up on Jersey Shore. Bad news on top of bad news. Now, a lot of people are going back and forth and debating on this and speculating. They actually believe that these may be related in some way. It says the 7th dead whale in little over a month washed up on the Jersey Shore this week, sparking a debate about the impact of offshore activities on marine life. It said the 20-foot-long humpback whale was found on the beach on Thursday afternoon in Brigantine, the Marine Animal Stranding Center. Confirmed Friday. It says, due to the incoming tide and low light last night, staff returned at daybreak this morning to take photos. The update read, it says plans are underway for a necropsy to be performed on the animal. So they're basically doing an autopsy on this whale, and they're going to tell, how it passed. But this is the 7th dead whale. Now, this is almost lines up perfectly with these loud booms. And they're kind of saying that it could be thunder that was off the coast and over the water or something, but it actually shook houses. Was something being tested that day or that night? What was actually going on here? Now, Dex, as far as the explosions and these booms that people hear, we've been covering these for years. Some people think that it's them digging underground or doing some sort of underground bases. But then again, now you have whales washing up. Maybe it's something being tested out in the water.
There's no clear reason why this is happening. Even going back to the booms, right? Like they say 200 miles away thunderstorms. They even tried to explain some sort of, atmospheric layering that could have caused it to hear it. But you're not going to have all of these people have their houses rumble for 10 seconds. And they also said sonic booms that jets could have been flying by. But again, I don't know all sonic booms, but I've heard a few myself in my lifetime, and they weren't 10 seconds long. This rumbling that they were feeling sounded pretty significant when you think about how long 10 seconds really is. And it sounds very much like an earthquake, which is what everybody thought it was. So to have that lining up with this, and then all of these have happened in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks now. And this is not the first time we've reported rumbling. We've heard this. We've had another story in this area. I don't know if it was New Jersey or New York, but maybe a month ago, we talked about people having this sound and they said, oh, well, maybe it was a sonic boom. We've heard this before. So there's something going on out there on the edge of the Atlantic there that is obviously causing these whales to die. But, who knows what they're actually doing or testing out there. They also want to make a claim to, I'll add this, that they're doing surveying for windmills and that might be part of it. But still, that's not going to explain the booms. That's not going to explain a lot of the other things that are coming together. So rather interesting story here.
Yeah, so Tucker Carlson actually did a story on how this may be related to the surveying that they're doing for these water windmills or whatever they may be. But also I want to point out that, so say if the ground does not shake, but the houses did, was this something that was above ground that had some sort of, pressure blast? What if they tested out some sort of explosive out in the ocean, and then it sent a pressure burst? Kind of like how what we saw when we saw Beirut. Do you remember when Beirut went off and there were people out in the ocean and even like miles away where that just, that sudden burst of air came rumbling and ended up sending kind of a shockwave? I wonder if it's something like that, because the USGS said that they didn't feel anything from the earth shaking, but would those sensors catch something in the air? That's what makes me think that this might be above ground. Now, I'm sure there's going to be people saying that they're, digging dumbs or deep underground military bases or something. But I just wonder if again, these are connected the same time. And then all month, people have been hearing this stuff and reporting these weird shaking things. And this isn't, again, this has been going on for like 5 years plus. So I just wonder what is actually being done here. What do you guys think it is? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, we wanted to share it with you because it was definitely very interesting. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. Again, make sure to make a comment below. All right. And then we have artificial intelligence replaced humans in job role for months and no one noticed. So I want to point out there's a side thing that I commented on, and I just want to be perfectly clear. I am not a huge fan or supporter, nor do I really care about what is happening with Mr. Tate. But I will say this is I do believe right now, just a personal belief totally separate from him, is that people should be innocent until proven guilty. That, of course, nowadays, people will basically jump to, guilty before anything and then prove yourself innocent. I don't agree with that. I think you should be innocent until literally proven guilty with absolute facts. And again, I mean, a lot of people claim a lot of stuff without ever backing it up. They can say whatever they want, but again, if they don't have the receipts or proof for it, then what are your claims worth, right? As far as something that came out on Mr. Tate was an audio recording of him. Now, that is the receipts, right? People are like, oh, well, I even saw a question by Mario Newfall or somebody that, high up on Twitter that does the spaces for Elon. And they said, does this change after hearing this tape? Does it change your opinion of Andrew Tate? Now, first of all, people that weren't even a fan of him or were a fan of him said, well, no, because I think NBC show said, no, because I knew he was already an unethical person to begin with. Absolutely. But if you listen to the audio, it sounds like it's all chopped up and it sounds weird. Now, why I think this is weird is just 4 days before that, we covered this story on Vol-E. Vol-E is a Microsoft thing, kind of like, what is it called? Dolly? But it's with voice, and it can take as little as 3 seconds of your voice. And just a couple days ago, we talked about this, how not only could it take 3 seconds of your voice and then copy it, but it could even, just taking that much sound, and who knows, if you had, tons of sound to put in this thing, it could actually give it attitude and sadness and emotion, and it would actually sound like that person. Well, just a couple days after I covered that, all of a sudden Vice comes out with this secret voice recording. Now, again, the voice recording basically has him saying, oh, well, you can't tell me you're mad because I strangled you just a little bit, right? Look at the comments, and I'll just tell you, look at what other people think of that. Look at the comments down below on every place they have put that video, and everybody's like, this is kind of sus. Why would he even say that? Somebody who is as hated and as as controversial as he would, why would he leave a phone message on somebody's answering machine like that? It's just weird. Either way, that doesn't prove the actual crimes that he is accused of, but what it does is in the public eye, it totally gets him. Now, my main point is totally aside from him. What are we going to see in the future with all of this AI and being able to copy people, not only do deep fakes, but to be able to do deep fakes on voice? If the voice is indistinguishable, and somebody like Andrew Tate has he has a weird way of talking. He has like almost a little speech impediment, and he has a very unique voice. So for anybody that listens to that, they're like, oh yeah, it has that little sound he makes and like everything. It definitely sounds like him. And if it is him, he's a piece of crap. But if it was some sort of thing like that, I just found it was weird. The timing of that, how everybody is now talking about Volley, not Dolly, but Volley, which is like the AI voice version of the Dolly. It can take a little snippet and then basically be the president or be anybody they want. So they could basically frame and basically make anybody they have as an enemy of the state look like they're absolutely guilty. Again, will it hold up in court, though? I don't know. Everybody's saying that won't hold up in court, even if he said, oh, I'm guilty and I do this all the time. Artificial intelligence replaced humans in a job role for months. And this is where I'm getting into this, because look at this article. It says a popular news outlet has been publishing articles written by AI since November, keeping it on the down low. It says, according to futurism and online marketer Gail Breton, CNET has been publishing the articles, and lots of readers don't seem to have noticed. It said the portal has reportedly churned out and published 73 AI-generated articles since then. This article was created using an AI engine and reviewed, fact-checked, and edited by our editorial staff, reads a note on the website under the headline. It says date and author editor credits. It said that the publication mentioned on its website that it doesn't compromise its journalistic integrity and that a team of editors is involved in the editorial process from ideation to publication. So it says, ironically, Jackson Ryan, a reporter of the tech and news site, wrote an article on the website last month where he said that journalism jobs are safe from being pounced on by technology when talking about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. It says it definitely can't do the job of a journalist, Ryan wrote of ChatGPT. So to say it diminishes the act of journalism itself. But then they have now published 73 articles with this AI. Do you understand why we shouldn't have AI and keep going with this? People want to evolve, but at what point do you decide, like, maybe we should not evolve in this way? Maybe we should be evolving in a different way. I don't know, and that's sad because if you look at the other option, it's like the other option that would be close is this Neuralink thing. And I'm not saying that's no good either. So what do we do? Do we stop any kind of technological evolution? It's kind of my opinion. This is otherwise they're going to have to. And by the way, that might be why everything is changing. That might be why Elon Musk is telling us that our best bet in the future, that you're going to own nothing. Well, W and the E and the F, they're telling you you're going to own nothing in the future and be happy. Elon is saying is your best bet in the future is that you have a universal income. And maybe that's why he's telling us all to have 6 kids, is because depending on how many people in your house is how much money you'll get, right? It's a scary thought that these AI are now taking over so many positions. It's not even funny. Artists, journalists, all these positions that we thought, oh, you know, maybe they'll be flipping burgers with robots, but they won't replace artists, and you know, they won't replace the Mona Lisas, and of course, you know, the painters and the journalists and the writers and the pilots and the truck drivers and the plumbers and everybody else. Pretty much every job is now in this crosshair. Dex, as far as the ChatGPT and this going on, like, this is nuts. They actually published 73 articles.
It's amazing they were doing this for so long. It's not out of the realm of possibility. We've seen it. You certainly see it with ChatGPT, people using that to create and write things all the time. I think the way that the first solution in my mind that comes to this is making things transparent and making them available. So if the same tool that's available to so-called journalist who's now just being an editor is available to the public, and the same information that they're using to gather and create a story is available to the public, then you sort of level the playing field. I think that's probably the only way you're going to be able to deal with some of this stuff. It's not, and you also have to have transparency in it and saying who is doing it and who's not, so that you can make a choice as a consumer to consume that content or not. If it's coming from an AI system, or if it's got more editors on it, then maybe you want to trust it a little differently than you would if it's just coming from an AI system. And there's nothing necessarily wrong sometimes with the stuff coming from an AI system. When you think about it, you know, a lot of the I don't want to, you know, poo-poo on journalists, but they take a lot of the same content. Like, it's fed in from the AP, it's fed in from Reuters, it's fed in from all these major news outlets, and they just take it and repurpose it. Now, that's not to discredit the investigative journalists or other journalists that actually create their own story from beginning to end, but I don't necessarily see them using an AI tool to do that. They're not going to get on the phone. They're not going to drive down, investigate the action that's happening at a specific location, take pictures, talk to people, and pull all that stuff together. There's different levels of journalism here. One, just rewriting stories that they already get, which is why you see a lot of the news say the same thing over and over again, because they just republish the same stuff. And in this case, it saves time, I guess, in some regards, to repurpose that. So again, transparency and making it all available for everyone, I think, in my opinion, is one way that can help it. I don't know that you can really stop this train at this point, but we do need to do things and make sure we're well aware of how it's being used, whether it's being used to displace our jobs. Is it time for us to look for a different career or change, upskill, things like that? What are the different things we need to be thinking about as this AI revolution continues to happen?
By the way, they may have come out, they may not have wanted to even say anything about this. Some added that the quality and the structure of those articles is atrocious. And I just wonder, why were they willing to risk their reputation as a news outlet and do this? A lot of people say that they went back and read these 73 articles and they said that they were horrible. So it's like you were putting your reputation on the line to do this. Maybe people started talking badly about them and they were like, oh, okay, well, yeah, now let's tell them and let's blame it on AI, right? Oh, it wasn't that great. As far as like what Dex is talking about with the syndicated stuff too, We have even looked at it. If you were to get stories from AP or something, other news outlets just pay them. They basically copy and paste it, but switch around a couple letters, and that's exactly what it is. They're allowed to syndicate it and rewrite it and kind of rephrase it. It's insane. That's why you'll see from 10 sources, people believe something because they see 10 mainstream news, articles that are all saying the same thing. But really, it's like one came out and then everybody else kind of did their cliff notes on it and then rearranged it and basically, did their best not to plagiarize it. But they are, using that as a source, but they don't list it. And they probably paid so they didn't have to list it. And then Yellen warns of irreparable harm if debt ceiling is not raised in a letter to Congress. So Dex, do you want to explain why? So my first reaction to this, every single time it happens, it's like, oh my gosh, every time it's fixed and they make it like this kind of financial end of the world thing, but it is a big deal. Can you explain why?
Well, when we reach our debt limit, we're going to not be able to borrow more money, or at least lend against it and use that to continue funding everything we do. Because obviously we spend more than we make as a country. We have done this for years. We can continue to do it. And a lot of the people who ran for Congress ran under the notion that they were not going to approve any more expansion of our debt. Well, we're about to hit the debt ceiling soon. I think they say it could begin next week. Or by Thursday or the week after, but it's coming really quickly. And the first group that has to deal with this is going to be Congress. So this is going to be an interesting thing. We're going to watch how this plays out. It can have some serious effects to our government's spending or ability to spend. It's going to have some serious effects in our economy. I know a lot of people are looking at the things that are happening around the world as it relates to the financial systems and how they may or may not be going through some sort of set of the re. And if this could also be part of a plan, if there is such a thing, to do that. And so these are the sort of the signals we got to look at, pay attention to, see what may or may not happen here as this plays out. But, we always have increased the debt ceiling, or you have to find a way to decrease the spending. So that's how it works.
Well, maybe don't send billions of dollars to other places. I don't know. I'm not even just talking about UK. There's plenty of places that we're shifting money to, and I'm sure not all of it goes to where it's supposed to. What about all of those trillions of dollars that right before 2001 they said were just missing? Remember those? What happened to those? What happened to finding them? Wasn't it trillions of dollars? I don't know. Great comment, though, by Snow Leo. Thank you for all you do. Get the truth out. Adam and Dex, you're the best. Well, thank you, Snow Leo. I appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting Independent. And then next exit. Breaking news. Congress just passed to outlaw round bales of hay. They say that cattle aren't getting a square meal. But I got to get that sound effect. By the way, I messed it up. I said balls of hay, and then, yeah, I'm never good. If there's a joke, if I tell it the way it's supposed to be told, I'm like the dad in Finding Nemo, like the clownfish that's not funny. Wasn't there a lot of Russian anti-air sites around their nuclear storage facilities and air bases leaked recently? John just said. Dex, as far as like the Russia anti-air, isn't that something we covered a long time ago? Like at the very beginning of the conflict? The S-400 or
S-300, S-400, yeah.
Yeah. That's not something that leaked, or is that something that,
well, it's on both. They have it on both sides because UKR had them as well to begin with. So, but yes, I think we've talked about them being around those locations. I don't know what the current leak that they're talking about is.
Huh. All right. Well, as I don't know, but I know that they have, hundreds of miles inside their border. They put in at the start of this, they put in a bunch of anti-air, which would say that, at the beginning we debated if that was because they were expecting some sort of invasion into their country, We don't know, though. Everything is so backwards right now. And then Davos 2023 hosts global elite amid recession fears. It says the Davos crowd is returning to a familiar setting. Only the lush green meadows that formed the backdrop of the first ever spring Davos last May has been replaced by snow-covered slopes where snow boots and fur coats have made a comeback. While the weather may have changed from last year, the main talking points remain the same. The war in UKR and its massive economic fallout is expected to again dominate the agenda of the annual event in the Swiss Alpine Resort. It says the W and the E and the F's annual meeting, attended by global political and business leaders, celebrities, and prominent social activists, like, of course, you've got Greta, right, is taking place at a time the world economy is under extreme stress, reeling from high inflation as an energy crisis and other supply disruptions caused by the conflict and a resurgence of the CV. Now, what's crazy is we don't even think about the CV anymore, other than the reminder on TV or the Elmo ads saying that you should go, poke or broke or whatever. But other than that, it's like gone, right? But now all of a sudden you see all this stuff coming out about China. Now on the back end of the news, on the back pages, they're talking about satellite photos showing, the crematoriums and packed funeral homes, and that Xi is basically encouraging. Their country just went from lockdown as you can get, with barbed wire outside of the apartment buildings up the stairs so you couldn't leave the building, with guards and people in suits sanitizing the streets. They went from that on like a Tuesday to a Wednesday saying, oh yeah, fly and see your family. There's no restrictions anymore. You don't need a green code to pee. Just go out and do your thing. It's freaking weird. And they say it's because of these protests, but I'm sorry. Either they did not show the full capacity of what they were doing there. Like the protests were, millions and millions and millions of people, or it's almost like they meant to undo this. So I don't know if CV is going to be coming back, and maybe it will either be WW3 or CV 2.0, but it definitely looks like something weird is in the making. And these meetings are where anything weird, if they were at all made or orchestrated, then I would think that this kind of meeting would be where they would talk about that kind of stuff. Go ahead, Dex.
Some are estimating there's upwards of 2,500, if not 3,000 participants. And these are typically presidents of large corporations or high-ranking government officials, if not former presidents, et cetera. So these are, and they also had reported a few days back that the Swiss Defense Department was potentially putting up to 5,000 soldiers to guard this event. That's how high profile it is. So just think about the people that are there, and obviously Klaus is there, and what may or may not be talked about, but be planned and be discussed. So and nothing will necessarily come out of that we'll get to find out about, except for only what they want us to know.
Yeah, and as far as some of the meetings, the other world meetings that have gone on, they have been getting crazy as far as the security every year. The Builder group, that one was relatively like they were actually coming in through public airports and going to the spot. But then I believe, who was it? It was Luke Rudowski. I believe he is the one who changed that whole thing, and that's because he figured out that they were all going through a certain airport, and every guest had to fly in through this airport. So he went to that airport, and he was able to see almost every single participant come through this airport and interview him, like, what nasty stuff are you guys doing? And they absolutely freaked out by that. They basically couldn't go around him. They had to walk past him or something like that, like where it kind of funneled them down and they were right there. Which was kind of genius by Luke and the others that did that. But after that, they made it completely secretive. Now, I don't know how this is, but you're saying 2,500 guests possibly and 5,000 soldiers. So basically 2 soldiers or 2 security for every guest. That's pretty insane. It's like everybody's going to have 2 bodyguards no matter where they go, right? Or there's going to be 1,000 soldiers sitting out front, right? I mean, this is nuts. What the hell is being decided there? And of course, if there's that many soldiers and actual security, you know some of the most important people in the world are going to be there. So what is going to be decided? I have a prediction. Something is going to be decided, and that something may very well not be anything that we want to see. Remember, even if the worst thing happens, none of the people at that gathering will be affected by said changes. They'll all have a green pass to get out of whatever the heck they're doing. Think about it. They all have their stuff set up. All right, before we move on, I want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, this for real though, I hope that most of you guys either have a gas-powered generator or some sort of generator to have power. We recommend that you go solar. Why? They are silent. You cannot hear them from 3 blocks away. 2, you have unlimited amount of power as long as the sun keeps rising. That next day, you can re-gauge your power. As far as the energy systems, they are literally some of the best systems on the market. I believe they are the best. But there's at least 2 systems that I have not tried. The Kodiak X2 and the Flex 1500s are definitely going to be the flagship systems in both their categories. The Flex 1500 is modular and can be added upon. In fact, you can extend it up to 96 batteries, which means you can basically store up as much power as you want. Again, and that one is modular, so you can actually triple the input. There's all sorts of cool accessories for it. Really, really great. As far as the X2, that is an all built-in one. The battery is one of the best batteries ever made. It's going to last 6,000 charge cycles plus. So they say after 6,000 charge cycles in 16 years, even if you used it all the way from 100% down to 0, after 16 years, it would still have 80% of its battery capacity. So that's huge. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy to save, again, 10% and up to $170 off of certain packages. Now, you can buy these with the panels. You can buy them with kits that have all sorts of different accessories. So make sure to go check them all out. You will get a huge discount on them, and you'll be helping our independent channel at the same time. Thank you guys for any of you that have actually gone over and got them. There is a very small wait time for the Kodiak X2 now. And we're talking about like very small. I don't want to overpromise, but they were saying as of last week that if you ordered last week, you would get them like right now. As far as the longest, again, usually it's a month is the longest wait for the X2. The Flex 1500, as far as all the lithium, it is now in high demand and in low supply. So make sure to get your name on one. These will last decades upon decades if you take care of them. All right, Dex, why don't you go into the next story, which is Jim Jordan launches the first investigation.
So this is our update on the classified doc scandal. This is, I think we talked last night that they had launched a special investigation with the DOJ, and now we're hearing that the Congress, specifically the new chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, which is Jim Jordan, is launching his own investigation and looking into how the documents were handled, as well as what all went along with that, including some of the financial stuff that goes hand in hand with the university that was tied to the first location. So kind of a big deal. You know, we talked a little bit last show about, you know, what our thoughts were about where they're going with this. I mean, when you see CNN talking, and I can't remember the guy's name on there, but when you see him going after Schumer and like really hitting hard against this, you kind of have to wonder like what's going on with the current press. Obviously, it looks like they're out to get him from all angles right now. I will have to watch how this plays out. Obviously, I know a lot of people think that all the stuff that goes on there is one giant stage, and they're just, you know, B-level or C-level actors. And to some extent, everyone's right that says that. But this is happening. It's happening in real time. We're paying attention to it. We'll continue to watch it and see where it goes. But certainly could be precedent setting if they rule something significant here, because the former Perez is also dealing with the same issue. So we'll have to see how all of this plays out and to what extent they're tied to each other or not, as well as what the outcomes will be.
Yeah, and by the way, so if there's some rule that and it just seems so weird that he had these documents by his garage that he openly admits every other thing he has not admitted to. This, he's like, oh yeah, but my garage was locked, and then the woman today saying like, oh, well, they did the right thing, and the second they knew about it, they called it in and said, hey, I think we got classified info. How do you sort of get classified info next to your Corvette in your garage in your house? Go ahead, Dex.
I heard one report said that one of the documents they found was in a folder, and on the folder it was marked personal. So how do you put something that's classified in a folder and label the folder personal? And then not only that, I think the other part was that part of the document was stored in an adjacent room to the garage, meaning that you couldn't have the necessary excuse that said, hey, we just moved everything and threw it in the garage. It's been sitting in the corner for 7 years. Nobody's paid attention to it. Oh no, well, we actually had to pick this piece of it up and we put it in this other room. So somebody literally had to do that, meaning it wasn't just buried in a box that nobody knew about. So it's what they're coming out with. And of course, what they're giving us is only going to be the very edge. It's not like they're even showing us the docs. They didn't give the spread as they called it when the feds did it down in Mar-a-Lago. They didn't take the big pictures and all that. But what even with what little they're giving us, it's like, wow, that's kind of insane, and it's obvious that they're going after them.
Yeah, and so if they end up making a rule where any president that has confidential stuff out like this, and if it's irresponsibly placed or something, that they can't run for another term. Well, yeah, of course, no, they don't get their bite. Well, did you think that President B was going to win again against whoever that ran next time? Right? No, they've already picked their next guy, and I bet he's probably under 70. And they've picked their next puppet, right? So he's taken the hit or something. Watch. They say, oh, now if you have this very specific thing happen to you, you can't run for president again, which everybody knows he's not going to go a whole nother 4 years on top of this. That means that T-Man would not be able to run in 2024, even if they can't get him for all the other stuff, all the other things they've done, all of the crimes they said he's committed, all this stuff, because it doesn't look like they've made it so where he can't run in 2024. So it's like, if you've been watching this since 2016, even if you don't like T-Man, you should be able to see that this is just a nonstop. They're trying to scratch at anything they can to make sure that this doesn't happen. Or that's part of the circus and the play to make us see that and to think that, and it's actually everybody's working together and holding hands behind the couch. Who knows? But again, it's just so sus. And she said, oh, they did the right thing, and they called right afterwards, and they turned it back in, and they said, oh, we've got something bad here, and they're cooperating. If you see that video of the actual whatever, the press secretary or whatever, she's so animated compared to usual, and she just keeps... I would love a body language expert to look at how she talks there compared to any other time. It was weird. All right. And then, Dex, did you want to make one more comment? And then you can actually talk about the Indian Army, too.
Yeah, real quick. I kind of want to jump back to the Davos thing for just a split second. The governor of Georgia, of all places, who has rallied against sort of the elite, is actually going there to speak. And it's kind of telling because let's not forget, in 2020, T-Man was also there speaking. So just throwing that out there, connect some dots. Now, his publicist, Governor Brian Kemp from Georgia's publicist, said, oh, no, he's going to the belly of the beast to tell them how they really should do it. But, we'll never know because it's so secretive.
I would think somebody said if you're a member of that you shouldn't be able to hold any kind of office. But I said the opposite. I said that's the only people that end up winning office is these members of this group, right? And what's crazy even more crazy, that without any tinfoil hats, if you listen to the actual words that come out of the guy who runs it, they straight up say, like, we're going to run this place and we're going to change everything and that we're going to guide this planet into the way we want it. It's like, what? And people are still pushing the snooze button. And then Indian Army General says situation on the border with Xi is unpredictable. You guys know I kind of have this thought that that they're secretly working together because maybe they have promised in down the road, if something really does happen and Xi takes, Taiwan and everybody goes to WW3, there is a small chance that India and China might end up being allies. And the reason why India is a really big ally with Russia and China are no limits partners. So it's kind of like this like third wheel thing, like, oh, we're hanging out, we're going to go see a movie with Dave and Bob. Like, oh, I don't get along with Bob. Well, you're going to have to get along with him tonight because we're going to a movie together. It's like that kind of thing because they're really close with Russia. They have helped Russia get through all the sanctions. India has actually basically purchased all of the oil and quadruple and quintuple the amount of oil to make up for all of the sanctions. So they're helping Russia basically skirt the sanctions. And then, of course, China and Russia are no limits partners, and they're working extremely close together. But then, of course, you go, oh, well, as far as India and China goes, they have this centuries-long, whatever, or however long battle between each other, and they still don't even agree on their border. Both have their border extended over the other's border, so they basically have it kind of like the Discover sign where it's overlapped. They believe this part of their land is theirs, and the other guys think the same, and they basically have their troops at the same spots saying this is our land, and occasionally they even fight and throw each other off of cliffs. So everybody thinks, oh, they'll never stop fighting over that, but what if China ends up giving them, Tibet or something, or giving them all of the land that they wanted? In return, that India helps with their 1.4 billion. In fact, they're actually surpassing China in 3 months. They said that they're going to be surpassing China's population. You help with your nukes, your military, your everything else, and help us take out the USA as the number one people, and we'll give you a spot at the table where, you and Russia are number 2 and 3 instead of the US and Japan and everybody else, right? I just wonder. That's my opinion. What's yours? Tell me why I'm wrong. I would love to learn. I'm always willing to change my mind. But it says India and China, the world's 2 most populous nations, which both have nuclear warheads, are at tense loggerheads over a territorial dispute in the eastern Ladakh area bordering both countries. It says, quote, I would say the situation is stable and under control, yet unpredictable, India's Army Chief Staff of General Manoj Pandey told reporters on Thursday. It says, we have adequate forces, we have adequate reserves in each of our sectors to be able to effectively deal with any situation or contingency. Now, I also want to point out they both had multiple like actual structures, temporary structures set up, barracks and things like this, and mobile kind of command centers that they had on these borders. And one thing that was really weird that happened right after this, where they were throwing each other off cliffs, is all of a sudden both of them actually removed their troops from the borders. Now, just not too long ago, they actually had another scuffle where they said so many perished and they were straight up, fist to fist fighting and all of that. But it seems like something happened. And remind you that India has been doing Navy drills with Russia right alongside with China. Even though they're not directly working with China, they're basically in the same drills and exercises with Russia, which kind of puts them in the same boat, no pun intended. Dex, what do you think about the border dispute here? By the way, people are worried about WW3 just with these 2 countries alone.
This is a long-standing dispute, and I'll give you this anecdotal story from way back in my past. That's how long this has been going on. When you produced a piece of software, let's say you wrote something like Flight Radar, right, where it shows a map. If you distributed that in India, you had to show one version of the map And if you distributed that in Xi's country, you had to make your software show a different version of the map because they are so adamant about these border lines that they won't allow, they won't allow anything that shows it incorrectly. So it's a really big deal for them. I don't know all the ins and outs about why the land is so important, but they've been fighting over it for years. At least they've been disputing it for years. As you said, they've recently gone fisticuffs. I'm surprised they didn't go beyond that, but they were literally throwing soldiers off cliffs over this, and they continue to. And so, again, two huge powers, the two largest populations, two very significant sized militaries, and both of them nuclear capable, and skirmishing over 15,000 square miles.
Yeah, so it's a huge, huge area, and they're possibly going to fight over it. We'll see. We'll follow it. And then Russian hackers suspected to be behind Royal Mail cyber attack. Another cyber attack. Dex, so what happened this time?
This is an update. So this is the one we talked about 2 days ago, or no, maybe 3 days ago. In the UK, they were not able to send any parcels internationally. They couldn't receive them and they couldn't send them because their computer systems were hacked. This was the same time that we had the FAA issue go down when we reported this. So now they're coming out and saying, yes, we actually believe it was Vlad's team behind this. And so keep in mind, if this happens, I want to, it's not so much that the hack happened, and it's not so much that they couldn't ship postal. Yeah, that's a big deal. But let's think about this. We have said definitively that if anyone was to do something to a NATO country, then we would defend them. And we said specifically cyber, and we said specifically infrastructure. Well, delivery of packaging is part of that infrastructure. So connecting those dots, if they're going to label it as Vlad who's done this, then are we going to then come back and say, okay, now there has to be a response from NATO specifically back against Vlad's country? And will we see something happen over there in exchange for this?
And this is the same day that all of the stuff went down with the grounding, right? The international ground, or the national grounding of all of our flights. And Canada had an issue. Canada got the same thing. And what was the other one, the Asian one? What was it? It wasn't Milan. It was
Taiwan, and that was in Taiwan. January 2nd, and it was the same day that it happened in Florida, which was a regional issue because of the Miami air traffic control system.
Yep. And so then nationwide grounding, the biggest grounding event where they said no planes are going to go up in the sky, the largest event like it since 2001, when after the planes hit, they said every plane needs to be grounded down, right? So that happened the same day this happened, and then another attack. And as far as like the parcels couldn't move, the parcels couldn't do this. Is this saying that same day that a bunch of groups did all of these different events at the same time? Like these are just the small consequences compared to the big ones? Either way, if above us in the ruling circles, they actually know the truth and it was Russia, and who knows, it could all be a circus, and this could be part of the plan to make it look like it. This could be part of the Fantastic Freddy to get us all into a conflict. Then was the grounding event also linked with this? Now, going into our next story, this is why this is getting way more important. We've been talking about this. We talked about the back page news, the little tiny warnings a year and a half ago. Now, look at this. It says attacks on satellites may trigger military response, U.S. and Japanese officials say. This is such a weird thing to say, Dex. Remember all the stuff we covered on the little tiny, it was not covered by anybody. It was at the very bottom. Then maybe about 3 or 4 weeks later, they started, a couple mainstream did a couple pieces on it. But basically there was this talk about how, of course, Vlad said that our satellites are a legit target since our satellites are helping UKR. That was mainstream 4 weeks after we covered and said that, hey, it looks like our satellites may even be getting targeted based off of information from the Fugel fam military. Look at this. Why do you think they said this? Attacks on satellites may trigger a military response, U.S. and Japanese officials say. And this is just a couple days after them announcing that they are basically going to be toiga, and that they're going to be doing drills together. Japan changed their constitution to be a war country overnight, and now we're here. What do you think, Dex?
Well, this is, it's exactly what we've seen being building up, because Vlad came out and said, they came out and said, oh, he can't hit Starlink because they're able to use it. And so if he hasn't done anything to it, then obviously he can't hit it. And he came out and said, no, I can hit it and I will. But he didn't. And now we're making this statement. Now, I hope that they're a little bit more firm with the messaging they're using. I don't think they use the word may. It's the author of this that said the word may, but may trigger isn't as affirmative as saying we will respond, so don't shoot our satellites down, right? That's the way it should be said, in my opinion. If you're the military, you're just going to say, you take out our satellites, you're going to be taken out, right? That's how it should be done. I'm hoping that that's really the way the message is coming across, and it's not as well, we might do something if you hit us, because if they're going to be that wishy-washy about it, then maybe they're just giving permission to.
Yeah, remember when President B gave the list, hey, these, by the way, if you're going to do anything, you specifically can't attack these things, right? In that list, we just mentioned it earlier too, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. We had the pipelines. We had all sorts of weird events happen. And again, we don't know what is actually going on behind the scenes. That's why we'll get to a second here. There's actual quotes saying that they believe we already started it. Full-scale WW3 has already started. We'll show you who has said that. And then let's see here. Before we talk about, Russia wants to trade 36 hijacked satellites for Soyuz rocket. I do want to remind everybody, if you want to protect yourself against EMP, this is one of the largest threats against the United States, and now other countries are preparing. Japan and Australia are preparing, and others as well are about to start outfitting themselves with different EMP protection. EMP Shield is actually contracted with agencies like DoD, DHS, and now they're officially on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. If you want the same protection on a civilian level, you can. EMP Shield, originally, we were actually with them way before those contracts. And again, there was a point where we didn't know if they were going to continue selling these to civilians. That's how big the contracts were. That was when T-Man, our previous president, signed the executive order to harden the grid. Now, as far as these protection devices go, the EMP Shield is actually something that can be wired into a vehicle or a car in less than 15 minutes. And what it will do is ground the signal of the EMP or even a CME, the natural kind, in less than 500 trillionths of a second, and ground it to the frame of the car before it can fry your car. So again, you can actually get one for your car, your truck, your ATVs, your motorcycles. In fact, they now still have these available. I don't know how long the supplies will last, but they do have the micro version. This is the micro. It's smaller than your hand, and this has the same protection, but again, it is probably a third of the size of a normal unit, and it can be wired into all sorts of different things. So make sure to go check that out as well. marfugelnews.com/EMP. If you want to be able to bug out, or if you want to be able to get home to bug in, then it would definitely be a good idea. There's also a house version that needs to be wired in by a professional, and there's, of course, a version for your ham radios even. There's also the custom one that is made specifically for the Flex 1500. In fact, it is the only solar generator you can get an EMP Shield for at the Energy. So marfugelnews.com/EMP. That's again marfugelnews.com/EMP to save $50 off per device. So if you have a family full of cars you want to outfit, it's definitely a great deal, and you're helping support our channel at the same time. Thank you for supporting Independent. We appreciate you, and thank you. Russia wants to trade 36 hijacked satellites for the Suez rocket. It says the Russian space agency may be willing to return 36 satellites it's been keeping hostage in Kazakhstan in exchange for parts of its Suez rockets that are being held in French Guiana. It says that according to a report by Russian space web French aerospace company Arianespace, it says that might be looking into a deal with Roscosmos to swap components of the Russian Suez rocket for 36 OneWeb satellites that have been held at its Kazakhstan launch site since March. It's Kazakhstan, sorry. And it says Roscosmos' newly appointed head Yuri Borisov is reportedly open to negotiations with Arianespace, a source told Russian Spaceweb. Arianespace and OneWeb did not immediately respond to a request for confirmations of the Russian Spaceweb report. We'll update this post and we should hear back. It says under the helm of former Roscosmos lead Dmitry Rogozin, the space agency severed ties with Europe in retaliation for Western-imposed sanctions against Russia. That included its ongoing deal it had with British company OneWeb to launch its internet satellites to orbit aboard the Suez rockets. So when they cut that off, all of these satellites that were under contract, they just basically kept. It says that OneWeb refused to agree to a list of unreasonable demands put forward by Roscosmos in March, prompting Russia to hold on to the company's 36 satellites and store them indefinitely at its launch facility in Baikonur, Kazakhstan. OneWeb eventually forged new partnerships with SpaceX and India's space agency to launch its remaining satellites to orbit, but its 36 lonesome satellites remained out of reach. So I believe that's got to be, it doesn't say the actual amount of money that costs, but it's probably up there. But as you can see, everybody is completely separated from Russia. It's pretty insane to see. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about the explosions in Berdyansk? Occupier state Russian-appointed governor's car was blown up.
Yeah, just some, inside reporting coming from, I believe this is coming out of UKR news specifically, but they're basically saying that there was 3 powerful explosions that rang out near Berdyansk. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think you probably did it better than me. But one of those being potentially the governor's car. So kind of interesting when you see this type of, action and activity. So that's the update. That's the story. We've seen some other targeting of high profile vehicles before, especially that one person who he wasn't in it. And it was his daughter, I believe, that was in it. And so we've seen a couple other incidents along these lines as well.
Yeah, you see a lot of people mysteriously fall out of windows or their car blows up. Beer Juice, Scooby-Doo right. And, of course, Beer Juice again says, in your face, Scoobs. I guess they're having a diamond war over there. Thank you so much, you guys, for going back and forth. Either way, obviously, it helps our channel, so thank you, Beer Juice and Scooby-Doo right. And then, of course, Big Fish, Vicky K, thank you so much for your nightly stop by. Big Fish, Bug Nana, Cognitable. Let's see here, Scapegoating JB. Yeah, Mr. President B, right? And then let's see here, we have Steve-O, thank you, MC Dirty Work. And then a special thank you to Able Bodied. Thank you for popping in. And I saw all of, thank you for thanking people and thank you for dropping the links to everybody. Thank you, Wages, for being here. I appreciate that. Let's see here. MG Deets. We have Gifted Grace, Cody Wee, God is Destiny, See Heart Think, says Marf. Love it. Adam noticed the Lemon War, D-Live LOL, Comet Moon. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys see a Lemon War, let me know in chat too, so I don't want to miss that. Obviously, people are supporting it. We should be shouting it out, so thank you so much. Ian DeBow, there are good peeps here. I guess the chat goes too fast for people to respond. Franklin's, well, I got to. Shannon S, hey, what is happening? And then love you guys. Catherine Anchors, I love all the positivity in the chat. Honestly, it's been, for the last couple of weeks, we've had just so much just, everybody's, it's all love. The whole point of this, and people don't even have to like me. Go into the chat, realize that there's a lot of like-minded people here. You should be coming in here and try to push people up and the great part is even if you're in a bad, having a bad day, just start talking to people and then people will push you up. And there is something to be said that even if you're in a bad mood, try to say something nice to somebody else and you will feel better. If you're having a crappy life out in the real world, I would like it if you came into our chat and it was all positive. It doesn't need to be fake positive, but it can be like effort put into it to try to get everybody into a good mood. Because honestly, we need to be lifting each other up. There's plenty of things out in the real world that are tearing us down. So if you're here, that's why we want to make it a drama-free zone and make sure that everybody is having a good time. So make sure to thank your mods for keeping it peaceful and make sure to go over and check out all of their channels. marfooglenews.com/friends. Sven Zorison says, David is having a bad day. Sick of it. Says Marf in his Pollyanna world. I love Pollyanna worlds. Fade away. Yes. Margaret world. We've got Billy Leather. Wages world rocks. Android architect. Can of love. Big Fish. What's going on? Love you too. And then LW. It helps to be here. A very friendly family. Yes. YouTube gets pretty crazy because it's a lot of people in chat. 4,100. I'm sure not that many are actually in the chat, but there's definitely a few hundred, if not 1,000 in there. And then Russians lose 500,600 invaders every day, and UKR 10 times fewer. This is, of course, a claim from the minister of UKR. Oh, I'm sorry. And I totally read that exactly how it is. They lose 500 to 600 soldiers a day. And again, Oleksiy Rexnevov, the defense ministry of UKR, has stated that the Russian occupiers lose 500 to 600 people every day. And UKR only loses a tenth of that. Personally, I think that is complete BS. And I think, if anything, they're probably losing about the same amount. You have, on UKR's side, you've got many parties admitting that if no one stepped in, so say if nobody donated all of their gear, weapons, defensive units, what would they have had? They wouldn't have been able to defend themselves at all, or at least that's what it seems like. When Vlad said last week or the week before, said basically by you donating these APCs and personnel carriers and all that, he basically said you're extending their pain and suffering, saying the longer you keep this conflict going, the more UKR people perish, and basically you're keeping it going. Because if not, they would be taken over, it would be over, it would be done, right? And both sides are admitting, like, without NATO, they probably wouldn't. So when you think about how many people are perishing on both sides, you have NATO infrastructure, NATO weapons, of course, NATO training and things like that. But basically you have all this high-tech gear that's going in there. And then Russia has high-tech gear. But Russia has basically been using the same level that UKR has been getting. I think it's about the same on both sides. And I think that both sides are minimalizing how many people are perishing. They're making it look like, Russia's just failing horribly. But Russia, compared to UKR, has been in many more conflicts, and they have been all over the world. They've been, just like the U.S., they've had people stationed all over the world. They've got a lot of trained soldiers, and they were throwing in all of their garbage stuff in the very beginning. So maybe all of those conscripts are gone or something, but I wouldn't see that going for the same time. They're saying like 50 to 60 people are perishing on their side, and 500 to 600 soldiers are dying on the other. If that is the case, if that is true, just say it's 100% true, and it's not propaganda, then that's not good either, because if Vlad is put in a corner, the guy's got nuclear weapons. And if he's not part of the circus and really does have something snap and his last straw breaks, then that's not good either. Dex, do you want to comment on this one? And, of course, who said full-scale WW3 has already started?
So these numbers, if they're true, would mean that Vlad has lost 161,500 since the day they started at 500 a day. That's more than double what we lost in all of the years we spent over in Vietnam. That's a huge number, and I just can't, in my mind, fathom it's that high. Now, mind you, they had, going into this, the armed forces of Vlad's country had 1 million in active and 2 million in reserve, and we heard that they raised another 300,000 in conscriptions. Now, if they have 3 million before conscription, losing 161 is not a lot. That they still have a lot of military left, but then they conscripted a whole lot of people too. So I think it goes more towards that notion that they probably were not putting their main troops in. They thought this was going to be easy, or they needed to drag this out, and they weren't going to waste all of their expensive equipment and their top trained troops, and instead use the private militaries, the prison workers that they've or the criminals that they let out of the prison to go in, and everyone else they conscripted for this. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, it's a huge number. And then do you want to go into full-scale World War III has already started, claims TV host as he begs Putin to nuke UK.
Yep, here we go. So another big mouthpiece coming out of Vlad's country is basically begging Vlad to nuke the UK. He is calling and saying, look, as everyone else has said, and by the way, we have said what I'm about to say, not what he just said, but a lot of us have made this notion UKR can't stand without NATO. Like they're not, in other words, they don't exist if NATO isn't there supplying everything. And in reality, it's not just NATO, it's pretty much the US. Like we're supplying everything, the money, all of the equipment. We're just funneling it in there. And and so at the end of the day, it's really a proxy conflict. And Vlad is at war with UKR, but UKR doesn't exist without the US and the West, or NATO, if you want to call it all of that. And so what they're claiming and what's coming out of the Ganda machine and this very large mouth of the Vlad TV system there is like, look, call it what it is. We're at conflict with the West, and we need to preemptively go after and strike the UK. That's the messaging they're putting out. That's what's going on their national TV. That's what they're suggesting for their president to do.
And mind you, the public there's plenty of people that support the whole thing as well, because think about it, if it was reverse, that there would be Americans watching our TV saying, hell yeah, we need to go in there and smash them. This is not a good thing to have being pushed on some of their biggest watched, largest rating shows. They're saying we need to nuke UK. We need to go to, and that's why you see there are tons of these videos coming out of actual Russian citizens saying like, we need to go to war, F the US, all this. And the same thing that people are saying here, F Russia, Russia's horrible. I mean, look at how many people have changed their profile pic to like, yeah, UKR. And there's most of those people that have a profile pic of UKR, they don't know where to point that on a map. They don't know where it is on a globe or a plane, whichever one you believe in. They don't know where to point it to on a map. There's so many people that have no idea how the Vlad even got into power. They don't know that he was an actor before that played a president on TV. They don't know any of this stuff. They just go with what they hear is the accepted narrative, and you don't say anything else because you're afraid of people canceling you or getting fired or being accused of being a racist or something. I mean, it's literally that simple. If you believe in any of the things that are leaning on the right, then you're attached to all of these other insults and names and things like that. It's insane. Like I said the other day, my 16-year-old's friends, all the way back to when she was 13, all of her friends, I said, what is a Republican? And they said, they're racist. That's what they think. That's what they're being taught. If you're a right-leaning conservative, then you are. If you believe in one of the issues that's on the thing, and by the way, there's people of all sides here. There's left, there's right, there's middle, there's independents, there's everybody. But I think it's wrong that they're attaching certain sides. First of all, I think it's wrong that it's a two-party system in the first place. But that they are attaching actual insults with, a certain side. And then they're also attaching it with all of this. People don't know what the hell they are supporting. Nobody even knows what's actually going on here. Nobody knows about 2014 and all the stuff that went down with how influential the U.S. was on who's running UKR in the first place. Nobody knows about the admissions and the leaks and all that. Nobody knows nothing. So this TV propaganda that's pushing stuff, this is not good, because we have probably millions of Russians that are like, we need to go to war, and pushing for it. And you have the same thing here. You have people here saying, we need to go to war with Russia. We just need to go in there and take them out. People are saying that they need to cut the head off the snake. We need to go take Vlad out. It's not going to, none of this is good. We don't need a war. We don't want war. Nobody wants war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike on that. By the way, Too Short, do you know the rapper Too Short? I actually got a copyright claim from Too Short, the rapper. And the 10-second clip it was on, it was one of my literal made from scratch stupid beats. And the song that it said it was claiming was completely different. But they will pick up even you do a couple lyrics and they'll pick it up. Again, I want to point out, France is shipping French AMX-10 reconnaissance vehicles. Germany is sending 40 Marder infantry fighting vehicles, and the U.S. is promising 50 M2 Bradley fighting vehicles. Basically, they're fighting NATO, just with different puppets on the inside of them. What do you guys think? Do you think it's already here? Is World War III coming? Or has it already started? Let me know. 3 choices. Number 1, World War III has already started. 2, it's coming. 3, it will be averted somehow. Or it's not coming soon. 1, we're already in it. 2, it's coming. 3, it's down the road or it's not coming at all. Sergeant Sedenko says it started a while ago. Heath Spear, 111, Mama Wolf. There's a lot of ones. 2, 4, we've been in it. Yep, so basically a -1. I would think that would be a -1. You can add a -1 if you think we've been in it for a while. Jungle Jim, number 3, not going to happen. It's not bad to disagree in the face of everybody else saying one thing. Heck, that's what we should all be doing at one point or another. Vincent Boogaloo, yep. Jennifer Gilbert says -1. Nana Deborah says -1. -5, enjoy the show. Yeah. A lot of people believe it's been going on for a long time. WW2 never ended. The powers can make more money off of regional conflicts. Robert Ward said WW2 never ended. Jason the Hempeler, basically the options were, do you think World War III has already started? 1 for yes. 2 for it's coming soon. Or 3, it's down the road or it's not going to happen at all. Miss Rogers Neighborhood, Android Architect, Sam Balam, Jamie Garcia. All right, let's squad of lethal Russian fighter bombers roar past HMS Queen Elizabeth in threatening display. Here's another dramatic dramatic instigation of what was going on here. It says, in a threatening maneuver as a $3.2 billion warship heads towards the Suez Canal. So another point, too, is the movement that is happening here. Dex, we've covered how there's all of this different movement of the naval equipment from all of these different countries through the Taiwan Strait, through the Miyako, through all of these different places. And now you have all of these weird close calls. Do you want to talk about this? I'm about to change the battery.
I'm envisioning that, when you watch that movie, the original movie Top Gun, and they go and they buzz the tower, or on the tower on the ship. They're buzzing that tower. That's what these fighters did. They basically, I don't know if they got that close and weren't necessarily buzzing the tower. That would probably be a serious threat, but they came flying through. They roared past the HMS Queen Elizabeth, and they're saying it was in a threatening maneuver. I don't think they necessarily were as close as rattling the tower, so to speak, but probably anything in a very, very low altitude and flying by very fast towards that ship. That is definitely not a normal maneuver. That is a maneuver that's intentional. That's something that you're doing to get the attention and or provoke. So this is the level of escalation they're getting to now with UK specifically, because this is Vlad's jets going after a UK ship. So the HMS Queen Elizabeth.
So, again, I want to point out we actually have a special guest in the chat. We have Paul and Adrian, off-grid desert farming in the chat. Nice to see you. I believe that would be Paul there. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, if you guys haven't checked out their channel, they are also on marfooglenews.com/friends. If you go down to Friends of Marf Creators, they are right here. So you can go check out their channel. It's a little small. I don't know why it's that small, though. There we go. But yeah, you can go and subscribe. They are close to another milestone again, too. They're close to 75,000. Go over to Off Grid Desert Farming with Paul and Adrienne, sorry. And then he said that World War is very soon. The world is going to explode into war very soon, and said it will happen in 1 hour, and it will take us by surprise. And he's not saying in 1 hour from now, I believe. I think what he's saying is like it will be very fast. When it happens, it will hit everybody in the side of the head. Another person said worldwide wars basically move the playing pieces around the board. They restructure the world, and they can move power around. That's what I believe too. That they can literally change the power structures. They change the fundamental systems that we all depend on with these world conflicts. They can put in laws, bills. They can change constitutions in different countries. They can do all sorts of things with war. They can also suspend other rules that are normally in place. They suspend those during wartime. They can tweak things to their liking, and then when the world war is over, they keep those changes and those tweaks to those laws. It's happened twice, at least in the last century. So we know they've changed rules during a war, and then after the war they keep it. I mean, look at CV-19. They changed things. All of our grocery stores are now self-checkout lines. That was only supposed to be a temporary thing to, handle the whatever happened. Do you see these stores going back to all checkout lanes? No. Why? Because they cut 10 people's jobs out of the damn equation. They cut 10 possible 401ks out. They cut 10 possible L&I claims out of their job site, right? So they kept it. Now all of these Walmarts and different places are all self-checkout. During these horrible events, there are good things that happen. And by good things, I mean for the very people at the top. These people believe that this is going to be a greater good after a World War III. They think it's going to be good for the planet. They think it's going to be good for everybody. Remember, all of the people that are going to the Davos thing and to the Builder, all of those people are going to be separated from any negative effects of this. They're all in the billionaire club. They're all in the multi hundreds of millions of dollars. Even the lower end governors and people like this, they are doing deals for millions and millions of dollars. They're secure for the rest of their life. You never hear about, you hear about NBA players and NFL players and these guys, ending up on the street after they're done because they get, 16 million or 4 million or something and they don't invest it, it's gone. These people get money for life. You barely ever hear of like, oh, it used to be a Congress and now he's homeless, right? Because these people make these connections, they make these deals behind closed doors, they get, these rallies and things that if they want to pass a law or do this or that, they get all these companies just paying them money for the entire time that they're in. So none of these people are going to be affected by the financial constraints that are going to happen very soon. None of them are going to be affected by the inflation like we are. It's not going to be a good thing. And hopefully everybody here will be somewhat prepared. Either way, we'll all adapt. People act like they're afraid. If it does happen, we'll all adapt. I know that. That's what we do. So don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Speaking of which, if you do need food, this is a great affordable way to get huge amounts of food for low amounts of money. Again, you can get the 1 month supply of freeze-dried food, Mylar sealed, for $100 off right now. You can also get a 3 month supply for $200 off right now. That's, again, compared to some of their competitors, that 3 months of food can cost you close to $2,000, which, again, some of those competitors are really great, different kinds of food and things like that. They're good foods, again, but not everybody has $2,000 for 3 months. This is a little under $600 right now with the $200 discount, and you can get 3 months of food that will keep you living through a disaster. That is freeze-dried, Mylar sealed, bucketed food at marfooglenews.com/prep. It has everything you need to survive for whatever amount of time you choose. You can even get a week, you can get 2 weeks supply, you can even get a single meal if you'd like. Go over there and check it out. They also have iodine tablets for any of those people who are concerned about any kind of radiation sickness. Also, you have all sorts of other gadgets. You have the Alexa Pure Pro, which is a huge gravity-fed filtration system that can do a whole lot of water in a short amount of time. And as long as you have extra filters, basically you can choose how long you end up going for. marfooglenews.com/prep. Not only do you get a huge discount on all the food and different things, you will also help our channel. So thank you, everybody that goes over there. Is it time for the West to give UKR heavy tanks? Well, apparently already the Bradleys are heading. It says President Emmanuel Macron, January 4th announcement that France was prepared to send a consignment of AMX-10 RCs to UKR seemingly broke a diplomatic impasse about NATO providing serious armor to the embattled nation. Remember, in the beginning, they said that they weren't going to give them anything serious. They were going to give them stuff to defend themselves. Now they're giving them stuff that they could literally go and invade places with, right? The AMX-10 RC, a light tank in all but name, it says, is the most heavy-duty Western armored fighting vehicle pledged to UKR since the beginning of the conflict there. It says within the days, the United States announced that it was sending 50 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. Then the United Kingdom promised 10 Challenger 2 main battle tanks. Even Germany finally agreed to send its Marder infantry fighting vehicles. This just took a huge escalation up to now we are sending in a whole new kind of battle in there. They're sending them in tanks. Dex, on the actual battlefield, this just changed. Now they're going to have, however many this is a lot of tanks and armored vehicles and everything else. This isn't just for defense. It's like they're sending in a whole barrage to try to take stuff back, maybe. I don't know what's going on with this. It looks like they're setting up also for the big one. Go ahead.
Well, they're also trying to get the Polish Leopard over there, but that one actually requires Poland to get permission from Germany to send it to a third party. So because of that, they're actually held up, and those aren't going because Germany hasn't approved it. I don't know if they're denying it completely or if they're just dragging their feet. But that's yet another set of equipment that will be pretty significant as far as a heavier weight of tank. That, like you said, this is going much more into full-on offense, not necessarily just defense.
Yeah, so this is a whole new step up. This is NATO going in and pulling some strings, and this is, again, look at what's happening on the borders too. You've got the 101st Division digging trenches in Romania. They're actually digging trenches on the border outside of UKR on the border of this. So they're obviously preparing for something else. And then NASA's moon-bound lunar flashlight has experienced thruster issues. That's right. The moon-bound lunar flashlight is on a mission to hunt for water ice on the moon's surface, but the mission appears to be in trouble as 3 of the craft's 4 thrusters are underperforming, according to NASA. It says the lunar flashlight team is in the midst of evaluating the 3 problematic thrusters as the spacecraft journeys towards the moon. NASA said in a press release, lunar flashlight launched successfully on December 11th from a Falcon 9 rocket alongside Japan's Hakuto R lunar lander mission. So why did Japan and the U.S. go at the same time? Is this like some don't look up stuff? Like they're basically, oh, yeah, that mission we said you were going to be able to watch and see, it's not working. But we did launch a couple things from Japan and the U.S. I just think on the side, like, we never know what they're actually launching unless we see proof of it. In addition to scanning for water on the moon's surface, lunar flashlight is also expected to test a more environmentally friendly propellant. NASA says that the trouble began 3 days after launch when a mission team first noticed reduced thrust. Ground tests suggest that the issue is due to obstructions in the spacecraft fuel lines. It says since lunar flashlight fires its thrusters in short bursts, mission scientists are planning to operate the thrusters for longer durations in an attempt to clear the fuel lines. It says the spacecraft still needs to perform a series of trajectory correction maneuvers to reach its intended orbit around the moon. So one thing I don't get is like any of these systems that's flying around there. I guess I've never. Why by now? Why haven't they spent a couple $1 billion or something, just thrown away a couple $1 billion on all the money they spent away? Why can't we have something that goes out just far enough to see Earth live all the time, that sees the whole Earth, not like a zoomed in portion of it or a composite of it? Why can't they do that? Why haven't they done that for long periods of time? So you could always see a live version of the Earth. In case the propulsion system can't be restored to full performance, the mission team is drawing up alternative plans to accomplish those more maneuvers. I wonder about this other Japanese Hakuto R lunar lander. So why is everybody going to the moon? Why did Israel launch this thing? Why did all of these different countries all of a sudden take this interest in the moon? What's actually happening here? It goes back to, my theory that maybe they might know something that we don't. That maybe all of these bigger things on Earth, all the stuff that's the biggest stuff on Earth, is actually because they're changing things around in preparing for something else that's about to happen. Who knows? Maybe an asteroid's about to hit Earth. You never know. Thank you. There's a few people, by the way. Thank you so much. Machina Opus. I've been using ChatGPT for a week, and it's truly an amazing tool. I think you said it best. Is this what they have? If this is what they let us play with, imagine what they have. From Australia. Thank you, Machina Opus. And yeah, so the stuff that we're able to use and to play with, like if that's what we get, what does the military and the government have? And then Billy Leather, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And what's stopping like Vice from using the publicly available stuff to, I don't know, smear somebody or to make a politician sound like they said the wrong thing, or all sorts of things could happen now that they can clone anyone's voice. Billy Leather, thank you. Big KC, thank you so much for your support. And Billy Leather, thank you again for sticking around for years now. Ryan B says thank you from Canada. We've got people all over the world. Thank you, guys. And then Jen, thank you from the United States, says Marfoogle TV. We love Marfoogle TV and appreciate all you do. Also, that Tacoma power station that was attacked is where Henry Grover seen the invasion begin at God Rules. Could this be what happens in America in 2023? Just did a great video on it. Jen, I'll have to check it out. Let's see here. I will have to check that out. And then Kenny Crowder, good evening, Adam, Dex, Mods, and Foogle fam. You said last night I could do just $1, so here's $5. Love your way. Thank you, Kenny Crowder. Again, I think $2 is the minimum, so you can actually still write a message. So if you can still write whatever you want at $2, so you don't have to do 5 even. But I think at $1, which is stupid, they won't let you write anything. Happy New Year, Sweetie Turner. And I guess the more you super chat, the more characters you can put in. It's kind of like a pay for play on Twitter or something. Like you don't get 160 characters if you don't do a certain amount or something. Sweetie Turner, thank you, says Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you as well, sweetie. Literally, Sweetie Turner. Zen1AZ, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the hearts. And thank you for everybody that supported tonight's show. We are independent. Mainly, though, if you want to support more than anything else, you don't have to donate. Don't donate. Share our stuff out. Bring in one person and let us know that you brought in somebody. Say, hey, I brought my coworker, and we will shout you out just the same. Thank you. Bring in your family members, your coworkers, your long-lost friends, the foreign exchange student, your prison pen pal. If he can watch us, get him in here. Doesn't matter. Just get us some more people so we can spread the word. Again, thank you, because we don't grow through the algorithm. We don't grow through that. They won't suggest us. That stopped years ago, and I bet you it's just like Twitter, how Twitter shows people now. He basically opened up the back end. Elon opened it up so you could see that like all of the channels like mine had like do not amplify, could not trend. Basically they would let you live, but they won't amplify you or help you in any way. It's crazy how much it changes, because back then it was a whole different platform even just a few years ago. So thank you guys for helping. If you do that, you comment, you comment on the video after it's done. If you're watching the replay, please, if you watch this far in and don't comment, I think that's kind of crazy because you've been here 2 hours. Please comment. That helps us out, and it helps it get recommended. And I think it would be harder for the platform to not recommend it if all of the metrics were there for them to say that this is high engagement, high everything. Then it would be harder that in the end, if we had to argue that they're holding us back, that would help us. So please help us out there. Dex, we have all sorts of crazy stuff going on here on web only.
We certainly do. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that description on YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here. Scroll down past everything we just covered, and you're going to find a yellow bar, orange bar, says overflow. That's the rest of the story. So lots of updates here. We've been covering what's been going on with the current prez and the classified docs. There's a lot of updates there. You can see what's been happening, what's going on with the special investigation, who they've been interviewing. Also, some updates around the Supreme Court's investigation. If you remember that leak a long time ago, they still don't have any suspects. Imagine that. I wonder how that's possible. There was some other updates going on around RFK Jr. And who he's suing. Some updates from the ACLU and what they're saying against the 3-letter agency, the F, the B, and the I, and how they're spying on Americans. Of course, we've got the update coming out from what's going on with the CV thing that they want you to get, and the companies that are behind it. Sam Bankman-Fried's had a secret back door and how that was working, and a whole lot more. So, and oh, by the way, the latest CV that we were talking about now has a new name, which I didn't realize. It's called Kraken. So I probably won't be saying that much longer, but that we used to call it some XBB 1 point some number. They've always got something for it. So that's the new name. So if when you hear that name, that's what they're talking about. That and so much more.
Jacob
it's all
Israel.
on our website. The rest of the story, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show.
Jacob Israel. Just wanted to say his name. No, Jacob Israel has covered the Kraken, and I didn't realize until after, because he texted me about the Kraken and he said something about it, and then I finally saw it, and then I learned about this, and I go, oh my gosh, that's what he was talking about. They're calling it the Kraken. Okay, first of all, isn't the Kraken, isn't that, Isn't that in end times? I mean, hold on. Before we go, I want to.
That's the monster from Greek mythology that comes out of the water. Release the Kraken, right?
Yeah, and no,
the sea monster. It comes up, and
but in
Perseus
that mythology,
goes after him. Is that the one?
Isn't it? But I almost thought there was something like the big sea monster that comes before the end or something, right? Let's see. I want to know, why would they say, and then catastrophic contagion, that the whole thing around that. Let's see, Kraken, meaning a huge sea monster in Norwegian legend, a mythological sea monster said to appear at times off the coast of Norway, a fabulous Scandinavian sea monster often represented as resembling an island, at sometimes resembling an immense octopus. Right? Well, you know what? I wonder if I don't know if Jacob Israel has covered this, but in a show, what was it? It talks about, in Slumberland. It's a new movie, and it shows the nightmare as this black Kraken. In The Good Omens, which is also another show that's on like Amazon Prime, it shows the Kraken go before the end of the world in this fictional thing. You see all this stuff, and it puts it into the back of people's heads like the Kraken is the end. You know what I mean? Like, it might be related, because if you know how much the three-letter agencies are involved in media and movies and the birds that are mocking us, right? It's weird. It's weird how much of this stuff goes in. Go ahead, Dex.
It's also a decent rum.
Look at what they're calling. They're calling this variant the Kraken. This one says the Kraken is a gigantic sea monster from Scandinavian folklore that rises up from the ocean to devour its enemies. Wait a second. This one says it's also become an internet meme. Hold on. Wait a second. Look at this. Almost everybody knows what it is, and probably some of you are probably drinking it right now. Who knows? It says it's also become an internet meme representing a sprawling, unsubstantiated set of claims that purports. It just closed. Hold on. Purport to outline the case for widespread. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? It's also become an internet meme representing the sprawling, unsubstantiated set that purport the outline for the case for widespread in the U.S. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Oh, that was the female lawyer back then. I can't remember her name. She's from Georgia.
Oh my gosh! So now in history books, when they look back at this, it's not going to be that. It's going to be this. Oh my gosh. Wow. You guys know. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that popped in. Wages, thank you. Looks like, do we have Ilea? Let's see here. What mods do we have right now? Thank you. CJ Blaze, I don't know if you're here tonight, but I've seen you almost all week, so thank you so much. Let's see here. I know I saw Wages. Thank you, guys. Jammer and Miss Jammer, thank you. Chance, Paladin, thank you. Gem, Able-bodied, thank you so much. Says, please don't forget the thumbnail. Thumbs up. Also, don't forget the thumbnail. By the way, I thought I did that by hand. I'll give you guys 50,000 points if you can tell me where the image from inside the WW3 is from. In fact, you will literally get. I can't. I don't want to say something without knowing I can do it. Yes. I don't know if I can do that, if it's okay. But you will get 50,000 points and possibly something else. So no promises. If you can guess where that image came from in the background. I'll give you a hint. It's from a movie, and I've mentioned that movie, but you have to name what scene, where it was from, everything else. And I bet I gave you too much right there. Let me know in the comments down below. And again, out of people that are right, you guys get the points. All right. And it's kind of glitched, so I don't know if anybody's going to be able to get it. All right. Dex, thank you for your service tonight. Appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right. Say much love to the mods. I appreciate you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the outro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. What is it? I can't. It's at the tip of my shoutro. That came out wrong. And no, you can't just name the movie, but you got to name the specific scene. It's a cameo, and it's only a couple seconds. And I actually mentioned it earlier this week. I gave you too much. It's not to find out. I'm back to radio. About Nelson and everybody. Wait, are we the one now? Wait up, start shining. Not gonna say, dying, dug the science way. Meet Puppet 007, green. Don't, hey, not gonna say. I'll tell you on the next show. Big KC, thank you so much. Hey Billy Billy up, hey Billy Billy up, hey Billy Billy, hey hey Billy Billy, hey hey Billy Billy, hey hey Billy Billy Billy. Hey Billy Billy, hey hey Billy Billy, hey 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 Billy Billy, hey hey Billy Billy, hey 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 Billy Billy, hey hey Billy 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 Billy. Hey Billy, let it, hey little back, a little bubble, a little nothing. Bring it down and everybody is in everything.
Boiling the goats, I'm an outlaw. I got a hay balls round, but they're not square though. Can't get a square meal around here. Bring it down, let's stay, no ever fear. With the David Murphy and the Aaliyah. I miss Jim one in the Oscar. I got Millie on the hunt and the Lori. Hot man back with my best friend Davey. Hey, I bet it's really high. Do it down now and we never ever done. Hey, with the money minds and the 50K. Everybody in the eye with the black K. I want you to go in the thing, I'm a digger, I'm a do it, I'm a back around and do it play. Hey, I probably do a Jackie and a great job. I like that, and I'm backing on the one. Bring it back around like a feet in the gun. And a teddy on the wicker and a nigga on the gun. I bring it on the banger, then I have to run the gun. I need to execute it and to take it out the river. Nigga, I'm a back around the Cody and the weed. FT, lady, yelling at it on the KT. Dang, I hit the damn one AG. And back with the big MP. Kiki on the blaze in the back with the CJ. Vicky K, got the fans on the stage, I with the Roman line. Everybody gonna go mad. Hit nine, and they go mad. And the stage are Roman line.
Big fish, hot light, seahorse thing. Everybody gonna wear something. In this new world where nothing is wrong. No more rules and we all strong. Got the wave, I wave waves as well. Raw max, everybody on the phone, the girl and not Jim, Mr. Jammer and the Mr. Gentleman. Hope you're doing well, lots of bars. We're the bomb bag, posing on a lifeboat, linking to everybody eyeball. Everybody that I know, I'm in the background, everybody lifeboat. Check it out, a channel winner if you win recovery, a best channel to go in it if you discovery. Then make sure to go over and subscribe. Marfoogle.com, friends, right? Oh, why, ask why. Mama of a six and a Tom Louis bike. Oh, nah, we the Pogo Loco. A DFW and all, everybody know. Thinking of that movie and the Jennifer Gilbert, Jay Avila, and everybody on the Ebert. Mama, she's a mean mama, she's a mean mama, mean mama, she's a mean mama, she's a mean mama, she's a mean mama, mean mama, she's a mean mama, she's a mean mama, she's a mean mama.